We are going to, let's start with anything from the morning session that needs to come back up before we move on to the other things. Counselor Van Meeker?
I just wanted to circle back on the short-term rentals in the downtown section where
Okay.
it said permitted with conditions.
Gotcha. Okay. Specific question or?
So I asked about it and Adam had mentioned that it was the conditions in table 4.29.
Section 4.29 in the general provisions.
Yes.
And that's on page.
But if you look at
24,
the
thank you.
conditions.
Yeah.
It lists all the conditions for short-term rentals, and then it essentially says none of these conditions apply in the downtown. Except for one, which is that you have to pay a fee. So I just thought that it might be worth clarifying that it is basically there are no conditions.
Right.
For downtown for short-term rentals.
Except for the fee.
Except for the fee.
Gotcha.
And if there's a better way to represent that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it looks like there's like a list of conditions, because most of the other things have a list of conditions where that was just there is a fee.
Yeah. It's like, here's all the conditions, none of them apply.
I accept this one. Okay. 4.29. Did I stop what you said? No, that's all right. So is there a suggestion on that from staff's perspective on how you would reword that? Or is that?
I'm like, I think it has to be there for clarity in the 4.29. Perhaps there's another place where we insert it in the downtown zone. Is it a confusion issue that you're concerned with? Like people will be confused over what they can do and what they can't do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because permitted with a fee, is that permitted with conditions or just permitted with a fee? So if you took it out just put it as a P and put it in the downtown that says short-term rentals is allowed with a fee,
Yeah.
did that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. We'll clarify that. It's easy. Yeah.
That good?
Yep.
Anything else from this morning session that we're still lingering on? CAO?
So I was gonna say, just like anything in the definitions that we need to go back to, because that was a point of reference at one point.
So I think we said all of there was a few things that were under provincial that was alcohol related. I think Councilor Bosler brought up vegetation.
Vegetation.
Does that need to be stated or is that under the development officer's purview or what do we do? Well, I know what vegetation is, but do we need a definition of vegetation?
If I can add, there are certain sections of the bylaw, especially regarding landscaping, where it does get very specific in terms of trees, tree calipers, shrubs, yada, yada, yada. So I feel like there's enough specificity where we don't necessarily need a definition for vegetation at this time.
Okay.
From our end as well, just one thing from earlier, we mentioned, it was, the word workshop was used for that, the restricted stuff within the Schedule A3 areas. I think just to put it on the record here, I think the route we're going with is standalone as the word. So if you are a standalone establishment for vapes, for alcohol, for yada, 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 you're not permitted within the schedule. And so you're still enabling things like commercial uses that sell these age restricted things, or sorry, like convenience stores that sell these age restricted items without banning them, without banning that use, but still preventing standalone establishments from being erected in these zones.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? Right. So we had definitions, the zoning map. Is the zoning map, aside from the list that we went through this morning, are there anything, with the 7,000 pages, but that's fair. Is there anything on there that people want to bring up?
I don't know if Jacob's microphone is on, but there was one thing that was raised.
Okay.
Do you want to bring it up on the screen if you want to go? If you bring up the zoning map, Jacob, is on Main Street towards the eastern extremity of the current downtown zone. So on the south of Main Street, the easternmost zone properties. There are two properties north of what I believe is Willow Park, if I'm not mistaken, that are currently zoned C2, and we were asked why those weren't continued, why the downtown zone wasn't continued on right to the street corner there. Getting the map up in just a moment.
Right here.
Yeah, those two pits. So there was a question on why those weren't also downtown. The rationale there was just that they were not previously downtown or C2 or C3, so C1, C2 or C3, which is why they hadn't been included. But we can also recognize the logical step of dragging the downtown zone right to the corner. I look to council for direction on this.
Yeah.
The reason that that wasn't in C2 in the previous planning documents was because those sites are really elevated. So the context kind of changes as you go up the hill there. That's why we had made that decision previously.
I'm trying to get my bearings.
It's right below,
You have a little
Park.
pointer?
um,
Can you point that on there?
I can, and I'll try to zoom in closer so it's a little more obvious.
it's across the street from Bomden.
These two properties here.
Oh,
The corner of Orchard and Main.
Yeah.
Why those ones aren't. You're saying?
Hmm.
That's Corey's. Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
That's
Don't use.
Don't use names.
Yeah.
Yeah, why did you say again, Devin? Was the reason before?
I know the one directly on the corner is really elevated up
Yeah.
off the street.
Yeah.
I'm questioning the one beside it and whether we might just have to look at an air photo, but I'm not sure that that one is as elevated, or those are actually one, like there's one house on two properties. Maybe we can just confirm that.
It looks like
Yeah.
maybe one house on two pits, but I will confirm that.
So that's why.
Okay. So are we okay with it staying as an R2 zone? Yeah, okay,
Okay.
sure.
So consensus is keep it as R2?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I have a zone question.
Sure.
If I can.
Of course, no problem.
As I was going through, I highlighted this specific one. I think it might have actually already been addressed, but I was maybe only half listening because I might have been reading something else. The downtown zone for 17.5C, where it says nano breweries, tasting rooms, and other alcohol related uses are prohibited on Acadia Street. What is the rationale? Why just Acadia Street,
School.
the school? So they're allowed on summer. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's best.
Okay, does anyone have anything else specific on the zoning map that they would like to bring up? I have no, it's not, maybe I won't ask it here, okay. No, I'm okay with the rest of the zoning. Is everybody else okay with the map? Counselor Williams?
Yeah, there's just one thing I'm confused about. In the new LUV, there's Schedule D, which is Comprehensive Development District Zone Sustainability Checklist. But did we not get rid of CCD, or am I missing something?
We are not applying the CCD zone to any lands in the town of Wolfville, but we're recommending that you keep the sections of your bylaw. In case you want to apply them later, you won't have to start from scratch.
Okay. Hmm. Everybody good? Okay. So that was the zoning map. We've gone through A3 already. So let's look at A1, the downtown. I think I'll leave that one for the very end, okay? Yeah, the special area on the rail corridor, just in case at the end. Stack and was there another one? So A1, A3 we did, where's A2?
A2 is the max heights on 2 institutional lots at Acadia. One surrounding Tower and one over by Highway 101 by the Moss.
That was,
That was
okay. Well, that was A2. Okay. Does anyone have any issues with A2? And the height on the 2 institutional spaces? No? Okay. So we did A3, so let's look at, we'll just keep going with map. Schedule B, that is development constraints map. A lot of shuffling of papers, everybody's here. That was the wells and that sort of thing. I looked at Howard as our chair of source water, if there was something.
I don't have an issue with the contours at the moment anyway.
Okay.
But also on that map of the view corridors. Are we going to discuss those or not?
The view corridors?
Well, there was oops, a letter passed round this morning.
Yeah. That was the one I showed you yesterday. Yeah, do we want to do view corridors? Let's do that with the rail line at the end,
Okay,
okay?
yep.
Keep that connected together.
I just want to put a note in for our own record here. I think that Schedule B should have the view corridor at least if there's other additions later in the meeting, but it should have the Reservoir Park view marked.
We
It has,
directed to remove those. We can add those back to Schedule B. If
well,
that's-
just the Reservoir Park one
Yeah.
should be on here.
can do.
We had put it in a separate figure section of the bylaw. But we'll put it back on that schedule.
You can view it currently on page 32 of the land use bylaw, figure 5.7. This is in part 5, but we can add the view corridor back to the development constraints map on Schedule B.
Okay, so we'll add that view corridor from Reservoir Park as a constraint on Schedule B for the next iteration. And we'll have a greater chat about view corridors and rail line at the end. That gives us all of the maps and schedules that we've gone through. Except for Schedule C, we haven't done yet, sorry. And that is the downtown and neighborhood design areas. Everybody okay with those? And then, of course, then there's also anything over 8 stories goes through the design review committee. 8 units, sorry, 8 stores. My apologies.
Those two.
If it's over, it's for.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
So we'll add that in the, as a note in the map, right?
Okay, yeah. Okay. So I was looking at the institutional that had 8 on there and I was like, got myself confused. Yeah. All right, so that'll be added as a note to the bottom. Great. Okay. For my list here. On pages 40, I think we did pages 42 and 43, correct? On our.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and 68 and 69 we did. What about 79 and 80? I had that on my list. Oh, that was also just one of those charts, so I just wanted to make sure everybody was fine with those, with the permissions on institutional and parks and open space one. Excuse me. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so not. Councillor Williams, your light is on, is that for?
Oh,
yeah, all right.
well, actually, I do have a question.
Okay,
The
good.
renewable energy, presumably if it's excluding wind turbines, you're thinking more then of solar panels. And are they allowed in all residential areas permitted? Solar panels, are they permitted? Yes. In all residential areas? Okay.
Can you make that bigger?
Can I make this bigger? Yeah. So yeah, the primary institutional, university institutional uses are what in fact, they're all allowable in I1. And then some of the bigger things allowed in the two, but not in the parks. Right? That's sort of the what's going on here. Community gardens, sport and recreation facilities allowed in parks. It's really how this is all been defined. And it is, this all lines up with your current bylaw. There's no substantial change here. I will note the university is meant to be 6 stories without a DA, right? And it's above 6 stories if they do a DA. It's 5. It's 5. Okay. We'll make sure that we get that. We thought there might be a disagreement in the text of the bylaw in this table. We'll just make sure we get that clear. Oh, sorry. We'll make sure it's, is it off still? This one. Okay, let's go say it. So yeah, is that better, Lindsay?
No, that's not.
No.
Third time's charm.
We just wanted to confirm and ensure the intent was 5 stories and above 5 stories. We will go with the DA. We'll make sure there's no conflict in the rest of the bylaw.
Great, thank you for that. So the rest of that table looks okay for everybody? Okay. Go through my list of things. Buffering has been a big discussion across this, so is there any further concerns on the buffering that was laid out in the land use bylaw? We're gonna make sure that the R1 and R2 buffering is all matched. We talked about that this morning, because I think there's one difference in, I noticed in parking. Find that. Page 33, number 5. Where there's a side or rear yard multi-unit dwelling that abuts any R1 zone, it should be, I think it should be R1 and R2 zone. I think those restrictions should be the same. low density? Does that make sense to everybody? So if there's a multi-use beside it in a parking lot being built, abutting an R1 or an R2, that they would have the same considerations. Definitions.
Let's just pause for a second until.
Yeah, make sure the mics are working. Can you guys hear on this one?
Yes.
All right. We can definitely make sure that the R2 reads just like the R1 on those buffering, as long as you guys are comfortable with that. That's, it's easy to, we intentionally wrote it so that R2 was different than R1.
Yeah.
Right? So that was, but we can make them the same, make the buffering the same. That's, if that's the direction, that's very, it's not a problem.
Counselor Elliott, you have your?
Yeah, I just had a question, going back to page 80, parks and open space.
Okay?
What's the difference between a park and a linear park?
The difference between a park and a linear park. So I think the linear park is thinking about your rail corridor. So your linear park is more like active transportation or sort of a trailway, as it were. And a park is just what you traditionally consider a park. The-
So will that be confusing to people? If they're reading it?
I wouldn't find it confusing, but again, I'm familiar with those, so I don't know if other people would find it confusing. Darian, do you have any thoughts on that?
I will also say one of the reasons why they're slightly differentiated is because linear park is a term we use in the NPS quite a bit, talking about that corridor along the front there, along like kind of going east-west through town. So that's where I think this is a term that's been carried over. The
Is
NPS.
it another definition?
There's not a separate definition, but I think it's the implication there of linear meaning long and narrow in this case.
We can add a definition for linear park.
Can I just add something? So we do have some parks classifications that have been in our planning documents, and that's just a classification. So we have neighborhood parks, and we have linear parks, and we have open space, and that's really from a zoning perspective, they all turn into P. But at the policy level, we try to give some definition so that you can define you want a neighborhood park in every neighborhood. And that really comes with a size and a service level is what we were trying to do at that point. We haven't gone in and changed a bunch of that though, so that's just carrying forward.
Counselor Williams?
Can we go back to buffering? At the top of Hillcrest, current top of Hillcrest, is R3, and it neighbours R1 on Kent Avenue. And one of the side effects of developers is that they often clear as many trees as they can. So whatever buffering there was has now disappeared. So will there need to be buffering put between those two, or is it simply up to individual landowners?
We need to look at what the buffering is between an R3 and an R1, or is there?
I guess just for clarification, you say, is it up to individual landowners? Is the question like, is there an expectation that the town would do something to add a vegetative buffering in that instance? Is that?
No,
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
no, it's just that the land has been cleared on the hillside, the Hillcrest side, with the result that whatever trees are left are likely to blow over anyway, leaving absolutely nothing between those two, whereas before the Kent properties enjoyed a small forest between them and where Hillcrest ended up.
Where is, me point me to the right page on buffering again, like,
Well, it's one of the, it's Schedule A map. Oh. the
oh, sorry,
buffering
yeah,
itself,
the actual buffering section. I just flipped over, now I lost it again.
So you have an abutting landscape buffer on page 46 for general requirements for neighborhood zones. This is where we get into details around how multi-unit buildings abutting any residential, institutional, park or recreational zone. Then they'll have a landscape buffer that's required, and they define the landscape we define the landscape buffer here in 4 clauses. So buffers in the land use bylaw do not say you can't cut down the trees that are on the buffer.
Sure.
Just like the buffers are space that are occupied by land or like, but what happens in that space? We know it can't be a building. But we don't say they can't cut down trees. So there's not, you don't have private tree protection in your bylaws. Okay, I know you know that, just to be clear,
Yeah,
that's.
yeah.
So the budding landscape buffer tries to recreate some of that when it has been removed, so that you get some of that vegetation, undefined vegetation coming back.
But the answer to your question is, depending on what's built there, there would be a buffering required. Yeah. It just depends what they do. If it's single family homes, then the buffering requirements. Yes. Right.
You need your mic on. Howard, sorry. Yeah. Yep. So yes, there is some required on there depending on what is built. So is there agreement that we are going to make the buffering between R1 and R2 the same? Okay. 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 I'll hear that. And any differences in the buffering descriptions that anyone had any issue with? The landscaping, all that stuff was okay? Okay. I have no roosters, that's good. I had a question on just the general zoning and when you can rezone, when, like, there's no, they're labeled on each one, but I'm curious if it like, so R1 cannot be rezoned. R2 can be rezoned? To what?
I'll pull that up.
And what's the process? And R3, like, so I was curious as if this is what they are, what can they be rezoned to? And what is the process to get there?
So there's just using R2,
Mhm.
we say in 10.3 under R2, you can rezone to the next zone up.
Yeah.
And it would come to council.
Okay.
There'd be a council process. And then within the MPS, there's a long table that we would bring you that addresses a number of concerns that you would assess for whether you think it should be upzoned or not.
And the next zone up, so R1 can't be, so R2 is R3.
Yep.
R3 is 4. 4 is 5.
I'll make sure.
Where does mixed use fall in? And where does mixed use fall into next zone up?
So it's not just next zone up. So
R2 is.
R2 is,
Okay, sorry.
but R3 lists the specific zones you can rezone to. R4, R5, MU, or I1 will be considered subject to the policies that Devin's referencing in the MPS. So it is the third subsection of every zone description. It says the rezoning, what can be rezoned to.
I see what you mean. Okay,
Oh, that's a process.
and they're all council process according to the MBS. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So 4, 5, okay. Okay, I just wanted to be sure I was clear on what I was doing there. Everybody okay with that? Rezoning and mixed use is not permitted. Okay. Not permitted. Okay.
Can I
Alright,
just ask
yeah.
a quick question?
Sure.
Without seeing it, is it possible to rezone to the downtown zone from R3 or R2?
None of the zones have the ability to rezone to the downtown zone. Rezonings are usually contained within your designation. Remember on that first slide I showed today, you've got the residential zones, the downtown zone, and the institutional park zones. Usually can't jump between them because in the municipal planning strategy, there's a general future land use map that sort of identifies those regions, those classifications. So you'd have to update your MPS if you were to go from one of those categories to another category.
I guess that makes sense. I'm just thinking previously where we had the C2,
Mhm.
which is a commercial designation, so you could have applied for rezoning from C2 to C1. But even in the old scenario, you still would not have been able to do residential into C2.
That's right.
Okay, so really nothing's changed because we've taken care of C2.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Question. Bring rezonings. All right, so I think next on my list, I would like to look at, if we can, the stormwater issues, and those are big topics. So is there any questions, comments, concerns on that section of the documents? I'm gonna look to my source water protection, yeah. And is that in that's in our NPS, not the land use bylaw? So-
No, there's a stormwater management section 4.32, page 25.
Thank you. Right.
Yeah, I don't take issue with what's in the LUB about stormwater. But the details, of course, are in the stormwater guidelines. Or the, trying to think what it's called.
That's stormwater
Yeah,
management
stormwater
design.
guidelines. There are strong issues that I have with that, but do you want to attend to those now?
No,
We can chat about that.
I think what you're referring to, Counselor, would be in our design guidelines for municipal infrastructure.
Yes,
That is outside the scope of this process.
that's fine. Okay, we can deal with that some
Okay.
other time.
so if Counselor Williams goes and has a chat with staff, that doesn't affect anything within this document that we would need to update.
What we do in here is just refer to this more detailed stormwater document,
Okay.
and we can update that document. It's a standard operating procedure in some ways for staff, and we have some specifics in here, and then we have very specific things in the guidelines that we've developed over time.
Okay, okay. So there's nothing in these documents that we're taking issue with, but if there's other things that we can look at. Maybe that's a different time frame, but
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing in these that anyone else has an issue with? Okay. Design guidelines. That is another part of our documents. Does anyone have any issues with what was written in there? We'll have the design review committee discussion later as well, but design guidelines, anything of note? Was there any drastic changes in those, Devin, that you can recall right off the top? I didn't see any.
A lot of it is procedural, because a lot of the design guidelines work is very context specific. And so we have principles, and we have a process, and what we've really tried to do in the new ones is just marry what our current process is, working with the committee, plus we've had to update it where we're reviewing more files. So busier group,
Mhm.
but yeah, I wouldn't call anything major. Mark, do you have anything that's big in there? No.
Perfect. Okay. Everybody okay with, oh, sorry, Councillor Williams, thank you.
The flow chart on page 197, so that's page 3 of the design working group. The flow chart on the left side indicates that something can be approved and then you tell the neighbours about it. And it strikes me that that's the wrong way around.
Can we, is it possible to pull it up?
He's making reference to the appeal period at the end of the site plan approval process.
Yes.
I think this more, so we have a commitment to have better notification on site plan approval.
Yeah, that one.
And maybe this. Which point are you?
The bottom left.
Bottom left.
Here.
Oh, yeah.
Orange one, it says approval notification is posted to properties within 30 meters. Well, it just strikes me that you've already approved it, so why would you notify people if they wanted to make a complaint about it? Surely you would notify them earlier that such a thing was happening.
Yeah, I can't remember the details of it, but do you want to speak to that? Yeah. I think we need to update it a little bit is where I'm going with this.
Thanks, and I think that's a fair question, and I think it's a good observation. I would say that the process here is outlined in the Municipal Government Act for site plan approvals, which does eliminate, or not eliminate, but it removes the public consultation in the kind of design phase, which is part of the advantage of a site plan application. It doesn't become a political and public discussion. The reason that we notify people at the end is there is still the appeal option. So an individual within a set distance could appeal the development officer's decision. But the point that Devin's mentioning is that we have committed to council to provide the community with better notification that an application has been received. So while this references the MGA requirements, we are also committed to putting a sign up, maybe finding a way to notify folks in advance, so that there is some discussion.
Possibly somewhere between steps 2 and 4. Right? So they submit the full site plan application and then somehow
There's no-
notification goes out.
Yeah, we'll amend that.
Okay, thank you.
But it is clear that that notification does not offer an opportunity for any input from neighbors until the appeal.
Mhm.
Like the appeal is their only input point. And I believe it's 30 meters notification area. That used to be much larger
Right.
until recent updates to the MGA.
So I think from our perspective, I think that was one of a fulsome discussion we had in the past, even though this is what is mandated by the MGA, the Municipal Government Act. We are committed to doing more in saying we will put a sign up or before, as soon as something comes in, so people are aware to take a look for it and have some input, and there could be an appeal process after that. So we're gonna go above what the Municipal Government Act says.
Maybe I'll just say one other thing. So when we do put a sign up on the property, when we say like, this is a small town, and so if someone wants to meet with staff about an application, we'll meet with them, right? And so it's not that there's no input, it's just we're reviewing an application sometimes for months, including the design review committee and different things. So it's where they come into the process, the most meaningful moment, if they're really against the project, is outlined here. And that's sort of their legislative right to come to council and do an appeal if they really want to.
I think the messaging is that we will do more. We'll make sure that we're communicating well, people know what's going on, and that the doors are open of whether it's council or staff to have a conversation about what's going on, so that our community feels involved in what's happening. Okay.
Yep.
So design guidelines we're okay with. Flipping back and forth between documents, but I'll give everybody a second just to make sure. we can jump back, but I'm just gonna take a quick, and we went through the downtown, what's allowed and not allowed chart. Was there anything else in the downtown, section? Because there was, heightened parking that were big discussions as well. I just want to make sure we understand those before we move on. Oh, sorry, Councillor
Yeah,
Williams.
I was surprised that there was nothing about the orientation of buildings to take advantage of sunshine. And that's one of the arguments I had with Viking, that he claims that I couldn't turn my house around so that the roof could take advantage of the sunshine. And I think that given that within most of these documents, there's a CA climate action or something like that, then there should be something in there that says that developers should be encouraged to orient buildings in such a way that it makes people much more able to take advantage of free energy.
We can add discretion for the development officer. We have a lot of discretion for the development officer through site plan approval. But we do orient the buildings more towards the street than to the sun for the walkability and that pedestrian feel. But I do agree with you. It makes sense. And we're often hamstrung trying to get best solar gain and best, approaching passive house standards is very difficult if you're rigid to a street grid that's not based on the sun, but based on waterways, military protection, whatever else reason that would have put your street grid in the way they did 200 years ago. So we can add in discretion for the development officer and be explicit that where that's for solar orientation, that's a strong play. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. And Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. As somebody who built their house for sideways for passive solar reasons, I have to say, in agreement, Sterling Avenue with not all, most of the garages face, yeah, I mean, not yours. With most of the garages facing south, there is no passive light going into any of those houses on the top end of the street. And it just makes me want to shake my head.
Councillor Williams.
That's why 76 Sterling Avenue was built the way it was. And we had a big argument with Viking about having the garage on the north side and not the south side. And he said, well, it would cost you more. Well, maybe it did, but it was a slab anyway, so it didn't really make much difference. But I have another issue.
Sure.
Can I?
Absolutely.
One of the issues is when you produce a subdivision, there's an awful lot of heavy equipment that goes across the soil, especially if you're grading in order to produce drainage that is acceptable. But one of the problems of using heavy equipment is that it compacts the soil with the result that what might have been fairly permeable no longer is. And again, we found that out to our hardship.
So we're thinking about after subdivision. So heavy equipment's used to build a road. We see this sometimes that it's that takeover certificate. So if a subdivision proposal, like what Viking did on Sterling, is suggesting subdivision and road construction, and then the roads are handed off to the municipality, I believe that's what happened with Viking. You have an opportunity with your town engineer and your review period to say, okay, confirmed, these lots meet the grading plan that was determined. My issue, what we find is coming up in some areas is there's nothing about compaction in the grading plan. There's just the top out, right? You're shooting the elevations to make sure that it is the right way, but you're not actually talking about the condition of the soil underneath. So in some subdivisions, we've seen people just slightly burying some gravels under there, the quality of the soil. So to get into that depth, no pun intended, of detail around what's actually in the ground, you may need an update to your subdivision bylaw and some of your standards for parks and open space take back. Because your ditches, I think, sometimes you have ditches that you have a defined standard for. Sometimes it's your park. But those aren't part of this land use bylaw, but it is what we could do is provide a note, perhaps, Devin.
So it's challenging when subdivisions are being built to do erosion and sediment control because areas are being built in phases.
Yeah.
Nova Scotia Environment is involved in erosion and sediment control, so there's a compliance side that the province brings into this as well. And so I hear you, and we have done a lot of different types of enforcement and conversations and measures, and I'm not sure there's anything right here that we're going to be able to solve that one. I assume that's what you're referring to. Yeah.
So nothing in this, but perhaps something we can look at in the future in our subdivision or something along.
I haven't seen anyone who's nailed this, to be
Oh.
honest, because the condition, you are tearing up natural ecosystems the soil has settled in with root systems of trees and waterways. Like it is very difficult to replicate that after you've plowed, you kind of moonscape the place. If worst case scenario, best case scenario, you've still got heavy equipment in there. It's really hard to recreate. And the best we can do is make sure the water flows properly and then new conditions emerge over time. But it is a long game.
Yeah, there's a holding period between turning the stormwater system on as it's designed, including ponds and pipe, and the time it takes for them to get there, and the condition that Jacob's described. So that I am the first to admit that is very challenging, and we do involve Nova Scotia Environment. We do have discussions with developers. It's on our mind. I'm happy that you brought that up.
Thank you. Councilor Williams, do you have a question or another
I
comment?
do.
Okay. great.
I have a couple. Foundation plantings. I'm not quite sure what you anticipate, but fire safe recommending, well, let's put it this way, that the fire station people and also Remo would not recommend you planting right next to a foundation because of increased fire risk.
Yeah. This is, I think there's a good conversation to have here. I mean, I position it a bit with aesthetic versus absolute best fire control. So you're right, no trees on your property. Very, keeping heavy buffering from any combustible structure. Like this is what they recommend for the increased risk of forest fire.
Mhm.
I think there's the fuel that you're creating around your house by by planting shrubs and flowers. I think maybe we could talk about having a recommendation for less woody shrubs and more flowers, because the flower plantings don't add to the fire fuel load the way shrubs do, right? Mulch certainly does. Yes, that's a great point. So we haven't written this with fire safety in mind there. We've recommended for aesthetics, that this is why the recommendation is in there, is for aesthetics. And I think we've heard a lot about like that character and the aesthetics, and some of the homes that we all admire or aspire to have sometimes have a nice set of gardens around them, right? And we don't prohibit mulch anywhere in this bylaw. Mulch is an acceptable material. And we say there should be a minimum height of some of the shrubs, right? In the buffering zones. But yes, they have that double-edged sword that they are flammable. So Devin, I don't know, I don't think we can.
So we have reference to further researching fire smart communities in our strategic plan, which is an EMO activity that will be undertaken at some point over the next little bit. But that would, the intention at this early stage would be that would be whatever came out of that would be encouraged versus regulated. So sharing information and communicating what creates fire smart communities and fire smart properties. And providing people with the information that they can then take that information and do something with it, rather than a regulatory framework, which is what our land use bylaw is.
There is a good parallel to, I'm sorry, Councilor, but just wanted to share, there's something called CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. So through the 90s, this was a big deal. Police agencies were recommending this, and the police were spending a lot of time with the planning departments to say, hey, you got to get rid of these trees. You got to get rid of these shrubs. You got to get rid of all these hidden corners. And it's for the right reasons, right? Because people hide there and dangerous situations occur and perceptions of danger. We're keeping people from public spaces. So they make the recommendations and then the planning groups bring them in. But I would say it's a mediated conversation where today in land use bylaws, we're seeing things that are influenced by the CPTED principles that were popular in the 90s and the early 2000s, but it wasn't a whole adoption of, okay, we'll cut out every blind corner. We'll cut out everything, because you have these conflicting goals of keeping people safe and letting them have sight lines, but also having buildings at the street and nooks and crannies that are visually interesting in the daytime, but at nighttime are potential hiding spaces, right? So we have played through this before. Fire is obviously the current place where this is going to happen. It's good to know your strat plan is already pushing this, but it will come as recommendations to the planning department to consider in updates, I think.
Okay, great. Councillor Williams?
The last one, I
No,
promise.
go right ahead.
Again, paragraph 423, the first bullet point. Ensure the main path from the public sidewalk to your front door is clear, direct, and universally accessible. Make this route feel more important than the route to the garage. Has that ever been enforced?
I would say, I don't know I have not been to your design review working group, but I would guess that is a conversation the design review working group has, because we do often see the garage, and actually Sterling Avenue has a lot of these examples where the garage is way out front and probably has more prominence in the architecture. So I would guess it's been discussed, but I would defer to staff who've worked with the working group.
It's part of the discussion. Yeah, I mean, it's one of many issues, but really it's trying to make houses feel like human places and not storage areas for vehicles. So that's always a challenge.
It's difficult when you have a garage with a house appended to it, because that's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So anything further on design guidelines? Stormwater, we said we'll go kick back. So I guess I'll open it up then. If there's anything else in the land use bylaw that requires that's on anyone's list. I have one while everyone else is looking, because it seems to be the most thing I get emails about these days. There's waste bins. Seems to be a topic of conversation. So when I read, and waste bins is on page 29 of our land use bylaw. And it says waste bins should not be permitted in a front yard. And that includes the rear yard or through lot of flankage yard. The waste bin may be permitted in the front yard where, and then it says where it is. And then it says, the next one says it's 15 meters from the front line. And then on the other one, it says, notwithstanding 436(3), a bunch of subsections. Zone in the downtown or mixed use zones, it shall be created a minimum distance of 0 meters from the front lot line and be completely screened from view from the street and neighboring residents by fencing and or landscaping approved by the development officer. I've got an issue with it. I don't think it should be 0. I mean, that's what it is now, I'm assuming, and we're not changing it. But if I mean, we're going to increase the downtown zone. I'm not sure we've added any more mixed use, but we definitely made the downtown zone bigger. And having garbage bins, screened or not, in the front yard when you come in on Main Street is atrocious. It's ugly. If people don't abide by the rules, it looks even worse. And I'm not a fan, so I don't know how we fix it, but I don't like it. Any suggestions?
Just to clarify, I agree. Are you referring to the entire Main Street? Because I think you said just downtown, but I think it would be the entire Main Street because that's our in and out corridor, right?
So it says in the downtown and mixed use zone, it's 0. In the other zones, you can't be in the front yard. And if a waste bin is permitted under this section, it shall be located 15 meters from the front line and be completely screened from the street and neighboring. So I think what that reads as, in every other zone, it must be 15 meters from your front, yeah. From here to your street, so 15 meters back. I mean, I'm not sure I love that either,
Yeah.
but in the downtown and mixed use, it's 0. So you can literally have your garbage can on the sidewalk
In downtown.
in downtown and mixed use.
Oh,
So any inns,
that seems strange.
yeah, and the downtown. So I will,
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, 0 seems crazy downtown. But this was added, this last piece, the exception for the downtown and mixed use was added. Because it gets trickier downtown to position something 15 meters back from the front. It gets harder and harder as you get downtown. So the idea was that we would add in an ability to have them in the front yard if they can be completely screened or fenced or vegetated around, that sort of thing. Now, that 0 doesn't need to stay there. That 0 could be 5. Maybe that gets it off the sidewalk, if you will. But we figured some allowance, some flexibility downtown was probably a reasonable move. We also don't want them in the front yards, but there are situations that are difficult to manage and sometimes they end up there. What we're trying to do is if and when we can get them in the side or the back, that's where they go. If they have to be for legitimate reasons, be in the front yard, we want them really well screened and maybe they do get pushed back. So I would suggest that these numbers are not locked in, they're not etched in stone. We can change those.
I'm curious what the diehard reason would be that it wouldn't be in your backyard. Like, unless there is no backyard, I suppose, but I'm not sure anywhere on this Main Street there is one.
It's your downtown properties. You have you have several downtown properties where the front wall is on the property line. So
Mhm.
they don't have any front yard and their backyard may not have access, may have an alley, may have an agreement or an easement, but there's some that are locked in and have other buildings around them. So I don't know how they dispose of their waste today. They may just be putting it on the curb. But I assume they're just putting it on the curb. But you have several properties downtown that don't have a front yard and some of them don't have a rear yard.
And I get everybody puts their garbage out on garbage day. Okay, I don't think that's the issue well, sometimes it's an issue, but for most people, it's not. It's the storage of garbage in your front yard that I take issue with.
Yeah.
And so anyone who's in downtown, I can't think of one business downtown or anything that has a storage for garbage on the main street. If I go downtown, they don't, it's behind them, it's in an alley, it's somewhere else. Great.
The drugstore, right?
But there are others that, in mixed use areas, for instance, that are putting them on the front yard, and I just don't think they should be there.
Well, we can look at it. I mean, Mark said it. We don't want them in the front yard either. This is a provision for really unique circumstances. We're not going to be working with people to put them in the front yard. It has to be really exceptional circumstance with an existing condition. I think it's more the expanded downtown. Can you think of a property?
Yeah, the Shoppers Drug Mart is one that actually, it's screened, so
Yeah.
you may not even realize it's there, but there is a garbage,
Yeah.
a garbage
Yeah.
bin in the front yard of Shoppers Drug Mart. Now, it's well screened, and that's the situation that, we might imagine, where they don't really have a backyard, so they can't really tuck it into the back or the side.
Yeah.
So it's situations like that where we wanted to enable some solution for them. But we're certainly not encouraging that as a common practice. But we're open to council's input on that.
If we should consider expanding this to the connector streets, the neighborhood commercial connectors as well.
So if you have a commercial overlay in that commercial overlay section?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I worry about the compliance of people doing the right thing with the garbage, and even up Gasbro, we had issues last week, whatever week it was. Like I've never seen, maybe I'm just new to it, but they just, this past bit has been absolutely horrible for the amount of emails I get about garbage being left
Bins
out,
and-
being bins left out, people
left out.
leaving, left out, bins being left out, just people just not being compliant in any way, shape or form. It's been uber interesting, not in a positive way.
Yeah, so on the compliance piece, we are having some conversations internally related to when garbage bins, when the residential collection bins are left out other than on collection days. How we can make it a little bit more straightforward or easier to enforce for those in those instances. Like, I think we're talking about related but two different things. One is the ongoing storage of garbage and where that should take place on a lot, and then the other is the timely depositing of residential collection materials and then taking the bins back to the where they ought to be after those collection days.
There's a couple that I don't like it in the front yard, and so I'm curious what the exception would be. I mean, okay, if you didn't have a backyard, shoppers, fair enough. Just trying to think of others that would make sense.
There's not many.
Not many, so put it in the back.
I think one of the exceptions though is for the large scale bins is the maneuverability of the collection vehicle.
Yeah.
Is part of it as well. The bin has to be in a place that the vehicle can get it.
Again, I still think it's hard pressed to find that it's the front yard's the best spot. But that's my personal feeling, Councillor Elliott.
I was just thinking about the addition in April of large format pieces of garbage that can go out, what, every 2 weeks? That could really make Main Street so attractive.
I think there's two different things here, though, just to confirm. So there's weekly garbage collection and issues around that. And then there's like a multi-unit building that would have a dumpster or a commercial use that would have a dumpster. No one wants those in the front yard, and neither do we. And really all this is for is in exceptional circumstances, we'd be able to, if they have to do it, it has to be buffered and it has to be done really well, and they have to prove that they have exceptional circumstances. Can you think of any other? I can't think of that many circumstances where it's not completely possible to put it somewhere else.
Yeah, I totally. And there are a few that I can, like EKM has a dumpster in the front of their building. But could that be moved to the back? Probably. Roselawn Cottages is one where they used to have a different garbage solution and now they've got dumpsters in the front yard. So there are situations around town where we run into this, and we're working on solutions with all these. But yeah, I think this really is an exceptional circumstance where we would enable something in the front yard if it was heavily screened and the owner is providing that certainty.
And the way the regulation's written, it is very much starts with, number one, waste bins are not permitted in the front yard. But if you have to put it there because of steep slopes, no backyard, other extreme conditions, you can put it there. Where you are allowed to put it there, it must be completely screened. Like, we're doing everything we can. It's written from a place of no, right? It's already written that way. It's just that when you wrote it as no, someone came up with the exception. So then you had to write this in, right?
Yep.
It is written.
And we get it. And we have one on Main Street, which was Roselawn Cottages, and it looks absolutely horrific. And yeah, there's going to be a plan to put it in there. What does the plan look like? Because even putting a big fence, as soon as literally on the right-hand side when you come in town, is going to look rotten. And so I just can't see how we say, yeah, that's fine. Let's just, I don't like it. That's my
So
I do
Roselawn,
get a ton of complaints about it, because it does look terrible. And even when it's fixed up to be screened, it's gonna still look like a fence right across the sidewalk as soon as you come into town.
can you tell us where it is that you're talking about
As soon
specifically?
as soon as you come into town on the east side, on
Roselawn.
the right hand side, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know Roselawn. I just couldn't picture a garbage bin.
There's garbage out, if you looked at
Yeah.
Google Maps, I'm sure it's on the front yard.
You could always have a fence and then some screening vegetation.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah.
guess what is,
you know,
what does it look like?
conifer trees or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll make it more acceptable.
More. I mean, I still don't love it, but at the same time. So. Because right now it's saying. It will be a view from the street and neighboring residents by fencing and or landscaping approved by the development officer. So now is our time to tell the development officer what we want in here, and what is it? Is it not a fence? Is it a fence? If it's on Main Street, does it have to be shrubs and then a fence? So right now, we're giving the development officer all the, just no offense to Mark and like, but if there's something specific we want to see, this is the time to say it. So I would say a fence right, but not a fence right on Main Street, unless it's got some thing nice looking in front of it, because then it looks like it's the sidewalk and then a fence.
I thought
Quite
there were
literally.
guidelines against having fencing above a certain height on Main Street anyway.
Oh, and
So-
is there no fencing allowed on Main Street above a certain height? Because then it won't cover the garbage pits. Council Butler.
It's not very far away to take a peek at the incredible effort that 9 Balcom Drive has always done with its garbage storage, because you can barely see it. And it's the first thing you should see as you walk, well, as you drive into the sign for the building actually covers it from view, and you have to step up into it.
Mhm.
The fencing, the encasing goes above the bins. There's ample bins for the apartment, and we block off the first parking spot so the truck can get in to move things down.
Mhm.
It really, I mean, not to toot the horn of my building, but it was a strong yes as to why I enjoy living there. Is the garbage collection is pretty flawless. Like it's well laid out, it's hidden,
Mhm.
it's very close to the house next door, but you
Mm.
can't,
You're right.
there's no complaints because of it's fenced in, there are trees surrounding it. It's
Yeah.
something to peek at.
Could we bring back something that maybe includes a diagram as well that reflects some of this? I think what I'm hearing is you want more than a fence for sure. And I don't think we're the first place to,
Yeah, it just needs to be attractive.
yeah.
Okay, sure. Open the chicken back. Does anyone have anything else in the LEB? I think that was the only thing I had left in it that, we're gonna do viewer orders at the end. Nothing else in the land use bylaw? Is there anything in the municipal planning strategy that needs flagging? Oh, Counselor Williams, he's good. Felt like that was a sigh of getting ready to talk for a long time. What is-
Section 1(4)
Okay,
on page 13. Statement 3, the inset bit on the page, goal to protect agricultural land for the development of a viable and sustainable agriculture and food industry. And well, so far, all the land on the south side of the rail trail is now slated for development. So what was agricultural land is now gone or about to go. So I will really wonder why you need that statement in there, because no one in their right mind would actually build north of the rail trail on the farmland there. It's being picky, but it's.
Yeah.
But you see what I mean? There is no agricultural land in the town anymore, or at least there won't be by the time we've finished developing it.
But there is substantial like a massive percentage of the town is agricultural land.
Yes, it is.
You're splitting the town up into, you mean on the part of the hill that was once agricultural land?
Well, it's where it used to be agricultural land, but now with the only agricultural land that there remains is that on the dike lands. And yes, I guess it's worthwhile saying you're going to protect that, but in actual fact, what would you be protecting it from other than the sea?
I think it's in the purview of council to, you could put a push on, and there has been a push in the past. Home hardware site, all of that has been former agricultural land on that side as well. So I think what we're saying is we are trying to hold the line on that part of the agricultural land that is still agricultural land. Yeah. I know, because if you go back far enough in time, basically all of the town was agricultural land. So what the statement is applying to land that is zoned agriculture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess now none of the land that's on the hill is actually zoned agricultural.
So that statement wouldn't apply to
Yeah.
that land. Yeah.
Okay. But it does apply to the land that may be used as a car park.
Yes, which is zone, like, so we have land that is shown that is under a marsh body variance
Yes.
that includes that land that you're talking about.
So
Yeah.
that's the exception. Yeah.
And there's many exceptions that have been made in that area over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have more in the MP, in the municipal plan? Do you want me to give you a minute?
Yeah, on page 61, for example, there, I've got comments about a number of photographs, but on page 61, oh, it was 61 on, no, it's actually on 62. That picture has been rotated to the right by 90 degrees.
I think if there's copy or smaller edits like this, I think if you want to just share them in an email, that would be,
Yeah.
and we'll incorporate all of
Yeah.
those. I've benefited from Councillor Williams' copy editing and attention to detail in the past, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, there is a comment about utilities in section 7.4. Some of the utilities that we use, like the sewage ponds and the proposed new well number 3, are not actually in town. Do we need to mention that?
What does it say now?
Your mic's not on, Dennis.
What does 7.3
It
state
says
now?
it shall be the policy to permit service and utility facilities throughout the town.
There is the further section right after that. the next page.
Yes. But including storage, sewage treatment facilities and water treatment facilities and water reservoirs. But they're not in town.
We could, I'll take a look.
And section 7.5 is servicing beyond our borders.
Right.
And it's more about extending your services beyond, but it talks about the authority of the Annapolis Valley Solid Waste Management folks.
Yeah.
You could have a section in there about this
Mhm.
reality that some of your services do exist outside your administrative boundaries. To wit, you are,
We can take a look at the item that you pointed out, Counselor, of having some of those facilities outside town. I think it's important to remember as well, the municipal planning strategy is related to land within the town. So that there's a small nuance there of, you know,
Yeah.
they are located outside, just outside town.
Yeah.
But the municipal planning strategy as a document, as a policy tool is related to land within the town.
Mm.
yeah, you can't regulate them, but it would be more of a note.
But I think from a policy perspective, you know, if council's intent is to bring all of our facilities within the town boundary and do a boundary review, that's something that can be looked at through time, but it's it kind of it is what it is moment right now.
I don't think that's on our agenda in the short term anyway. Counselor Elliott, do you want to?
Just looking at the title and wondering if the fact that the town supplies water to the Lightfoot and Wolfville Winery would be indeed servicing beyond our borders. That was contentious when it went through.
It is servicing outside of our borders for sure.
Just a little.
So that section is essentially set up because of that issue. And really what it's saying is if someone approaches the town about servicing, we will look at it on a case by case basis. That's basically what we're saying.
Counselor Williams.
Section 8.5, high density residential. Only 3 of the 6 high density areas are currently serviced by public transport and or are far more than 20 minutes walk from the centre of town. Should the policy statement say anything about future transportation options for those what could be quite large numbers of people wanting to get downtown without using a car? I mean, sadly, it's one of the disadvantages of Wolfville in that the high density stuff is all up by Highway 101,
That's a great
where
discussion.
nobody wants to live because of the noise.
I think,
Yeah,
thank you.
100%. Counselor Elliott.
Oh, sorry. Well, I was gonna make some heritage comments, so
Okay.
should we move on?
I'm just making sure Howard's good with his NPS.
Looking intent.
He is. Y'all good? Sounds like a threat. All right, sure. Let's move on to the heritage. Counselor Elliott.
I think it was back in the previous document that we looked on, but I was really happy to see a policy that the university and the town would foster conservation of heritage properties. That's just kind of the policy positives that you want to see. Downtown heritage, I'm just really glad that we're looking at it. And I know I started bugging Devin back in 2019 to do some further work on built heritage, especially along Main Street, and I'm really happy to see it on there. Especially the notion of funding property owners to allow for heritage designation. It's been, since the town did the initial list of heritage properties, it's been really hard to get anybody to go in that direction. And maybe this will help with some further focus. Anyway, I think it's super positive and I thank staff.
Thank you for that. And thanks to staff for that. I'm just going through my list. So Only thing that I've got less, unless anyone else has anything that's pressing, was the rail line and the view corridors. And I know the rail line is under lease agreement, so I don't know how much of it we do in open and how much we do in closed session, but
Yeah, anything related to policy discussions we can do in open session. If we do find ourselves meandering into some of the more specifics related to the town's lease, we'll have to move that into a closed session.
okay. Let's talk about the rail line, and can we pull up that map? Forget what schedule that was now. A something, I think.
Is it Schedule A1 you're
I
referencing?
think so.
That would be on page 112 of the land use bylaw.
112.
Page of this report.
I think the general consensus or viewpoint of that is that anything that is in a downtown core, we would work with the owner to try and make sure that was congruent with what we want to see from a parks, open space, placemaking, public use type of space. And do we have agreement that that is a good thing, that that's what we want to do with that part of the rail line? Any objections to that? Australia?
Me again, sorry.
No.
I'm looking at this map and there's a reference somewhere to rail corridor, and on the mapping, it's D, referred to as D. I don't see that on this map.
So it's on your screen right now. It is hard to see. We use black and white hatching to help with color printing, but area D has a hatching field that looks kind of like loose gravel, leaves, vegetation.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if there's gonna be development in that hatching, it should be, I would like it to be by development agreement and not by site plan.
Okay, area D does not have development intent beyond public asset, right?
Correct.
Area C, however, has site plan approval, which is the diagonal check hatching.
Yeah, any of that corridor to me should be,
Yeah, you want the whole, but in that, I think Councilor Elliott, area C for you is where we've written in for site plan approval, I believe. And you'd like to see it by development agreement.
just
That's a
the
good
scope.
conversation. Yeah. And Devin, I know you have the history with the owner, so I'd.
Yeah, and I had a discussion with the owner, and I don't think he would mind me speaking openly about it. We did, the rail line has development rights now, anywhere on the rail line. And this is really a pullback to a lot less development rights because there has been so much interest and honestly advancement in interest, certainly since I got here, on doing things along the rail line that are public use. And, speaking of that linear park, I think most people that I talk to, their vision is for that. The only areas where development is foreseen, so I'll just start on the map you're looking at west of Elm Avenue, is really some of the widest sections. There really are no views there. You're looking at the Public Works building, and then you're looking at our salt shed, and then you're looking at the Acadia storage tanks. So the section that I think is worth discussing is all of the section by the library. So we've limited all of that going west from Elm. There is a wide section of the line adjacent to Harborside, right there. So I wanted to just clarify with council what that, whether they don't want to see anything there. And I would just caution that the element of controlling the entire rail line as completely public use will come at a cost. And so that's what I think I've set up in the policy, is that we're not going to decide that today. Some of this will have to be essentially an amended lease with the owner. I will tell you that the owner is very happy to work with us. It's just right now our lease was amended to address some of the public usage, like putting a hard surface trail in, working with the market on the north side of their building for small improvements, working with the Devour space on improvements, and working around the waterfront. That's really what it's been. I haven't seen any proposals or really any serious interest in buildings along the rail line, and I don't have any coming to us. But yeah, I think this is a reflection of what I've heard. It's just, I think this is a step, and then I think we'll have to do some additional work based on this policy direction with the owner.
Counselor Butler?
So I walked this morning, like I do probably 99% of my life. So when I hear the word development, I wonder what could go there. It's not a lot of space. As I was walking through there today, because knowing this discussion was coming up, all I really saw in my mind was more social space. No real commercial, no business. It was more just picnic tables, benches, bike racks, things like that, if that's what development is considered. The reason I walk this trail is because I don't want to walk down Main Street my whole life. I want to be surrounded by trees and fresh air and nature, and not more businesses. So I couldn't think of what development would look like down there for me to say yay or nay to it. So can you give me some examples of what could potentially be developed along those very small spaces?
I think the Harris Building is a good example. So really, the one site that we're talking about is essentially an extension of the Harris Building. It is a long, narrow building that is fit into a site. You can see it there where Wolfville Animal Hospital is and the Odd Book. That's really the only other area, if you just keep going, is a small section right adjacent to the Harris Building. That's always been in the discussions and concept development. That's always been one of the most viable areas because it kind of frames the trail with Railtown that also has commercial and supports the Harris Building. The rest of it, I agree, is challenging, but it's narrow building footprints, and that's why we've moved in most of the corridor to this sort of more partnership and public use. The other part of the rail line, you can see that there's significantly wider sections. That's where the owner has always had more interest anyway. There's been in the past conversations with Acadia on some of their adjacency and supporting the university through development around the field down in this area that is more out of the way. You can see where their natural gas storage is as well. So it's just between the market parking lot and the dike fields.
Okay. So the extension sort of Front Street Harris Building, that already feels commercial to me. I was more focused on the other section by the farmer's market where there's a substantial amount of trees and stuff that would have to be cleared for anything that would go there. The little bit behind the DeWolf Building, that's already been cleared. I don't know. I wasn't picturing anything there ever. So when it came up that development would go there, I just couldn't imagine what would go there. Thriving businesses or just more park related amenities. And
I think directly by the farmer's market, I think it would probably be farmer's market adjacent uses. I think it would be very difficult to site a building in that narrow area.
Yeah.
There could be temporary vending type uses. the conversations I've been part of as far as actual buildings have either been right next to the Harris building or over here where we're looking west of the market.
So anything that is in that area is considered area C, which is just site plan approval.
Correct.
Okay. I would be all for that turning into a development agreement, so it actually comes back to us to be able to see that.
Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I did basically what Devon just did, and that was, I measured the north-south width of that block of land, and at most it's about 20 meters across, and a minimum about 11 meters across. So you'd be really restricted, given setbacks, as to what you could build there. And I'd be very sorry to lose some of that along the trail, because that's what makes the trail magic, is to have the trees, albeit they're not very good trees.
Bad trees. Yeah, so we did a walk of this the other day as well. And so I would say, so from the market parking lot all the way through to the Harris building should be only used for public space. So bike racks, like all of this stuff that counts, but like, you know, anything that's adjacent to the farmer's market, sure, some tents, some things that they would use, some picnic tables, like, I think that, you know, I don't know what Acadia plans on doing with their space on the other side of there, but that would then become really nice and park space to sit, go to the market, go on the trail. It's, you know, community space. And then I think the same behind the library and all the way down through town. And I hesitate on building anything along there, because if you're walking on there, I guess it depends on what it is. So if it was more like little sheds of ice cream shacks and things like along that nature, maybe that's not so invasive. If you're talking about a 4-story building by there, that trail no longer feels to what I would think that feels like, which to me is like you're walking quite literally through our downtown and you feel like you're still in a park and your views are great and the trees are like, it just has a great feel to it. So I'm, you know, from the market all the way through to Waterfront Park should be, I think, our space, like just community space for open air. On the other side between the parking lot and the other side of Acadia. No, going the other way, sorry. So from the parking lot there and going west.
You mean
That-
this way?
Yeah. So that goes all the way to the other side of the football field, right? So it's that space. Yeah, there isn't much of a view, although I don't know that a 4-story building. So where the white lines is that where someone could build something? It's not very big.
Those white lines are your, sorry, the white lines are your property lines. I've just pulled this up off Viewpoint, which is non-official, but it was a quick way to get a satellite image up. This width from here to here
Mhm.
is 30 meters.
Right.
And it gets wider here. You could see a Body Works type building fitting in that space, and the trail would probably bend around it. Would be that was my assumption when I looked at these lands, is with the developer's eyes, is that you've got that space, the pedestrian path can move, and then you have that added energy around your market, that extra ability to connect Dyke Land through to Acadia, potentially. Like, these are the things that we would think about from an urban design perspective when we look about the opportunity here. Everything beyond here is exactly as it is today, and it's not wide enough to do any sort of development beyond bike racks and benches. But these two opportunity sites really that are identified as area C are thick enough or wide enough that you could do a small building add some commercial vitality to the trail and, yeah, start to look at, what might be possible there. And I think the other one over here is not as wide, but because you already have a narrow building with the animal hospital in it, you could continue that building onto that space here. And again, you'd have a narrower aperture that the trail's going through, but you'd still have the trail connection at whatever 2.5 to 3.5 meter wide. So those are the two opportunity sites. I do think there's a concept that they've worked through the Appalachian Trail in New England around trail towns and really emphasizing assets at your trails, because this trail does connect you through the entire valley down to Annapolis Royal and to Windsor. I don't know that this private owner owns all of that, but he owns a big chunk of it and has separate lease agreements along the way. And we are seeing more and more e-bike users come and use these trails. And so emphasizing commercial opportunity along the trail is part of the strategy, I believe, Devin, that's fair to say in the policy. That's in the 9.3, right?
Well, so going back to 2010, 2011, there's public consultation and I wasn't here at the time, but there was a full build out plan shown, including buildings along the waterfront. That has been part of the discussion with multiple councils. And that is what informed our previous planning documents. I think what I would ask today is more, what would council from a policy perspective like to see along here? The mayor's comments are very helpful in terms of, we could see something maybe here, but we definitely don't want to see anything from here to here and here to here. Because this isn't public land. This is leased land. And we pay a lease fee annually. And that provides us with certain rights to the trail. It's also bound up legislatively with the Railways Act. And it is a linear corridor, very valuable linear corridor. But certainly I think the owner he has seen the different visions. He created one in 2010. A local architect was very involved in that. Buildings can be put here.
Yeah.
It's been shown. It has been proven out that buildings can go here. So it's not that they can't go, it's what is the public interest. And I've changed the policy environment trying to reflect that, but I think what I'm hearing is it needs to be fine-tuned a bit more. I can take that to the owner and I can bring that back to council. I don't think we're going to resolve this issue because it's going to involve probably an amendment to our lease agreement, which I actually have in the policy as something that council would like to do.
Can you tell me where that rail line is in the land use bylaw? The page numbers, so I'm not looking.
For
The map?
Is there more than the map in the land use bylaw?
Schedule A1 in the land use bylaw is page 112, and it shows this whole area with the rail line, but I don't think.
The downtown zone is the other part.
But there's no development guidelines for those spaces, so that it just says, so where does area D get described as
Yeah.
site plan?
Yeah.
What page is that on, please?
In text, these areas are described on page 75 of the land use bylaw. This is where it specifically goes down into areas A, areas B, C, D on schedule A1. So it's
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through it and I have the same concerns as the rest of council here. I think it would be really helpful, to have some concept drawings, like I just haven't seen a lot I'm a visual learner and I just haven't seen them. And again, area A is site plan, B site plan, C is site plan, and then D is no development. And do we want to change some of those, like as we talked about? So I think I just need to see some renderings a little bit more. We haven't talked about this rail corridor, and I think everybody sitting around the table knows that. And I guess we haven't even really talked about it, but the downtown going from 3 to 4 stories by site plan So that gets us a little bit nervous to say, is this going to be close to the rail trail and what do we have to do as we're going to talk about view corridors? So I just don't feel like I'm comfortable with that part yet. That's my opinion.
I can say that. I think there should be no development on that area D all the way from the market all the way through. And then if there is anything going further than that, either it's a DA or if it's a site plan, then the restrictions are fairly low, like 2 stories would be maximum, like it just, people walk along there for sunshine and, you know, if there's a building shading you along the way, like I just, not sure.
I would suggest that is everyone in agreement generally with this? Because
That's about there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think about a building there, but I'm not looking at the front of the building, I'm looking at the back end of the building, because the front would have to be on the other side for parking, frontage and all that stuff, correct? So I'd be looking at the butt end of a building on my rail trail.
yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing is council wants really control of the rail line and if there is development, would be more deciding very clearly what type of development's going there and or almost a partner in the development potentially. And so I think that's the direction that we need to steer the policy language. And then we can change some of, you know, I still think until there's a new lease, there can still be the option of a development agreement because that's what's there now. And we're not going to make up this change before that. So if it's development agreement along the whole corridor for now, and I think the policy should really read that we would like to eventually move, it sounds like the whole thing to a park space, other than a very small component in the far west end of it. Am I reading that correctly?
Does anyone have anything? Mostly, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I think that when they
Yeah.
did where am I? Tantallon? Is that where I am? Where there's the trail goes through and there's the coffee shop right beside it. Like
Yeah, bike and bean.
Bike and Bean, thanks. Like something like that nature, like it was single story, it fit in, it was right. But yeah, so something that's still reminiscent of that feeling along there, I'd probably be able to live with. Like, I think that would be kind of neat, but a market to go, like yeah, I think it depends on what it is really. Or not even what it is, but what it looks like and what you're kind of bringing to that space.
Mhm.
Because it is a linear park. We just said it is. So what complements the linear park?
It is, it's complicated because there's been a development scheme created for it with 15 buildings on it.
Okay.
That goes back 2010.
Yeah.
That's when that was created. That was presented to the community. That's been longstanding.
That session, so you're gonna go home and look it up.
Yeah.
And I'll send everybody
Okay.
what the tenor of the meeting was. But
Okay.
it was pie in the sky.
I'm happy to send the older concept, but I think looking back is great. I think what I'm really looking for is what is the intention of this council moving forward? Because the owner is very interested in working with us. It's just, we're going to have to amend our lease agreement
Okay.
to get the control that is sought here. And that's fine. So let me work on it.
Okay. Thank you. So that takes us our rail line. Is there anything on view corridors that anyone else wants to talk about in that vein? I think we said at our last meeting, we were going to look at the policy around the working group and there was a piece of work in view corridors in our operations plan. Did I get that right? Was that part of it? Was it supposed to be? Sorry.
Sorry, was it part of around the heritage and culture? Was that where it was coming?
Mhm.
There, and then, yeah, but yeah, it's around view corridors. That was part of it, correct?
Yeah, we were taking it as, so the main protected corridor is from Reservoir Park. The other ones, I think, require more study, and some of them overlook private land, and
Yeah.
we just expect that discussion about the rail line's helpful. To hear the intent there, but I don't think we're ready to have hard and fast view corridors in here unless there's one that. Yeah, okay.
Not that I can think of, just, yeah. Good. So is there anything that is left over that anyone needs to get out on the floor? Because I'm gonna ask then at this point then, are we prepared to hear a list of what are the changes that we have asked for? To have a motion to say the next document will come back with those changes to bring it to the March 16th meeting. So is there anything on anyone's chest they want to get off now? It's like a marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. No, just kidding. There will be more opportunity to talk about it, but is there anything else? Yes.
Sense.
Right. Okay, yes, that's nonsensical. Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
So just to be clear, if we go to a motion today, it goes to the 16th of March. And is that the first reading or after that? Can you just remind me the next two steps, please?
Yeah, that's correct. So if we've prepared a motion and during the break that I can share with you folks and then go through the list as the mayor had said, and then we can come back to the motion. But if you approve this motion, it would go to the March 16th. So we're rescheduling the March meeting from the 17th to the 16th because we would have a number of absences if we held it on that Tuesday. But that would be first reading. First reading in this context is essentially notice to the community that it is council's intention to approve this policy and bylaw pending hearing further from the public through a public hearing. And Devin can chime in here as well. There would be only very minor things that could be changed once first reading is given. You'd otherwise want to keep that document as it was after first reading. Devin, do you want to chime in on that?
So we would take everything today. We would have these guys update the documents, and we would have a package to you on the 10th for the 16th meeting. I think that would be the timing, the 9th or the 10th. It would have a short report that would basically list what we changed today. And then, so that would be a double check for you as well to say, I thought we were changing this. We can have that discussion at first reading, and hopefully we're 99% there. And then we would do any little bits of edit, and then we need to develop some material to send to the community. So the public hearing is probably, I'm just ballparking here, but it's probably 4 to 6 weeks out from the 16th. Because we need time to prepare material, send it out, and have those documents that are the final documents on our website that people can look at. That would be the process.
So I'm gonna say this one more time. So this will go to council on the 16th, so that if there's anything you want to say, this is the time, or if you're not ready, this is the time. If everybody is where they are and they're okay, I'm sure we all don't know 100% of every single line that's been written in this document, so let's be clear. But are you at a place where you are, comfortable so that you can live with the recommendations that come out? And if we're not, then we take a pause and we take the time to figure out what that is. This is the time to decide. Deputy Mayor, are you feeling okay?
I just wanted to reiterate what you said, this is an overall document, so not every single thing in here, I'm like rah. So it's like, yes, I can live with that, I can live with that. And I think everybody sitting around the table would kind of agree that you're not going to sit here and every single thing that you put out there, you're going to get. So I'm comfortable, I feel like I'm comfortable right now, moving it on to the 16th, based upon the fact that it's an overall document and I'm looking at the overall, I think done a good job on discussion and whatnot. So I'm fine with it, but that's me.
Yep, I'm gonna go around. Counselor Elliott? Your mic, honey. Thanks.
I really appreciate the fact that our consultants listened the first time around. They made the changes that we kind of begged for. And so I'm confident that having gone through a second round, their ears are working equally as the first time, and the staff are on top of it. So I'm okay to go to a motion.
Counselor Williams? Yep. Counselor Van Niekerk?
Yes, good.
Okay. Counselor Butler?
Yes, and thank you very much. It's a lot of work. It was hard on the heads, but thank you so much. It was easier than what I thought it was going to be, and the discussions were great. And I love all the colors.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask for the list of changes so that we can make sure that that list is where we want it to be. And if the list is where we want it to be, the motion will be general, and we'll say refer to the list.
I can
So
walk
who
through this.
took the list?
I have a pretty comprehensive list here. So I'm going to walk through. If you have a question, flag it while I'm talking and we can pause.
Can it be put on the screen?
No,
No?
I have it.
Sorry, that's awesome.
I would say no. It's
Okay.
it's in my notes. It's
All
kind of
right.
all over the place.
All right.
But I
I'll
can
go.
provide this afterwards for you folks as well.
Okay.
So regarding the neighborhood land use table from the land use bylaw, moving R2 to 3 units, except within the East End zone, and adding the same conditions from the R1 zone for the R2 zone for ADUs. Regarding commercial, specifically section A3 or schedule A3, adding restrictions for uses that sell age restricted material in standalone establishments, and then removing hotels, hostels, nursing homes, residential care facilities, and SROs from schedule A3 due to the fact that they don't really make sense within the size restriction there. Also on schedule A3, removing all of the lands on this schedule to the west on Skyway. So there's those 3 properties, those 3 parcels that will remain. Everything to the west of that is removed from schedule A3. And then creating a separate figure that shows the other commercial allowances, the other neighborhood commercial allowances for extra clarity when reviewing neighborhood commercial. On the downtown land use table, to clarify the permitted with conditions versus permitted for short-term rentals within the downtown zone. That was a request that we'll do. Regarding the R1, R2 discussion for the top of Westwood Avenue, putting that to R1. For the R1, R2 discussion along Braemar, Balcom, and Linwood, expanding that yellow box from figure 4 of the staff report to include the 11 PIDs that are contiguous there, including the one circled in red and the other remaining single family homes, while all of the other properties that are existing multi-units or fronting on Main Street will stay as R2. In the West End, the East End, and on the Tideways PID, those 3 sections of R5 are being moved to R4. On the mixed use PID and on the west of Main Street, where the nursing home was proposed, leaving the zoning as is, but requiring a development agreement. For the mixed use PID on the corner of Whidden and Main Street, leaving that as R3 for now. Regarding the design review working group, accepting the terms that has been put forth, or the direction from staff that's been put forward from the staff report. For the site on the corner of Pleasant Street and no, in the south,
Highland.
Highland, thank you. On the corner of Highland and Pleasant, that's currently R3, leaving it as R3 and not upzoning it to R4. On Schedule B, adding back the view corridor, but only the Reservoir Park one. For buffering with the R2 zone, making it match the R1 zone. For rezoning within the R2 zone, ensuring it's written in the land use bylaw that it can be only rezoned to R3. For the design guidelines and in the land use bylaw, the flow charts that show the land use pathways. Just a note here that staff is committed to adding better notification periods early on through site plan approval. And then regarding the front yard waste bins, within the exemption for the front yard waste bin setback, again, having more staff time looking at that and kind of coming up with a solution that meets the exception to the downtown zone. Am I missing anything? It's my exhaustive list.
We've just spoken, sorry.
Go ahead.
This is what we had just spoken about related to the rail line.
Oh, yes, of course, sorry. And then, yeah, the more discussion on the rail line.
And then grammatical stuff will all come. Yep.
On the rail line, I'll bring back an amended MPS and land use bylaw section to reflect council's desire really to, we're not going to have it solved, but we'll certainly have council's policy intent built in. And the whole thing is what I'm hearing is by development agreement. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I just wanted to make sure I heard when you were going through all the changes, like in Balcom area, did you mention the Westwood too? Like the ones you
Yes.
did? Okay.
Yes, exactly. So
So I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
again, for additional clarity, the on figure for the staff report, there's those 6 PIDs within a yellow box.
Mhm.
So it's moving south to include the 3 directly to the south, and then the 2 adjacent single family homes to that block. So it's 11 PIDs in total.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He did say Westwood too, though. I heard, I
Yes,
did hear.
I did
him.
get
Yeah.
Westwood. You
Yeah.
did get that as well. That is all moving to R1. That section we talked
Okay,
about at
yeah.
the top of Westwood, yes.
Yep. Is that the list that we feel encompassed everything that we chatted about over hours?
Was waste bins was mentioned?
Yes. At the
Okay.
end, waste bins were mentioned, yes.
Yep.
And did you mention administrative sort of copy editing there?
I just said grammatical
Okay,
changes, but
yeah.
if that's added to the list, yeah. Copy edit. Everybody good with the list? Counselor Butler?
Did we mention at the beginning something about referencing the definition section? Something, it was the first thing we talked about.
Yeah.
It was like 9 pieces of cheese ago. About referencing,
The definitions?
yeah, like
Yeah.
there is a definition section, refer to
Right.
definitions, something for this, yeah, okay.
So in addition to the summary that we're going through here, we will also go back through the video of today, just if there was a small thing that kind of got lost in the wash. Yeah.
Mm. Yes.
Can I just add one more just
Yeah.
so everyone's hearing it? The mayor did mention at the beginning of the meeting, just having more clarity around offsite contributions, repayment for things. And I would like to have that clarity added into the document. So we will do that as well. I think it's a small thing, but we'll get that in there.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Laura reminded me at the beginning, I mentioned, can we have examples in the zones,
Picture.
pictures in the zones besides R1, so we have the built form. Got that? Listen? I don't know if they're listening.
Can we just talk about that one for a second? Because, so we had what we called intent examples in the document. Deputy Mayor did express a desire, and the reason that we had them in there was exactly what you described for just that visual.
We
You
talked
want-
about this a bit at lunch.
Yeah.
We think we kept the intent example in for the R1 because truthfully, R1 has fewer iterations that can possibly be built, and we can show an intent example to show that ADU because we knew it was going to be something that was going to be discussed a lot. There are so many different buildings you can build inside R3 and R4 and R5 that we took the intent examples out. R2, we took for a similar reason. We had several, we found it confusing because we showed a semi-detached, we showed a single family, and it was, again, there's, even with just being allowed to build 2 or 3 forms of development, you get a lot of variation. So we're gonna have to choose one of many to show it as an intent, and we don't think it'll be as clear as with R1. So R1 was kept because it was the most concise, because R1, you can only build one thing.
Right.
So we kept the intent example. We did take them out because we discussed, they just didn't show They weren't an accurate representation of the realm of possibility on those lands. That's why we took them out. And it's difficult to put them back in for R3 because you're showing the townhouse, the type of almost cluster housing that can happen, multi-unit, small multi-units. Like there's a lot of different things we could show in the intent example. And we just thought it would be disingenuous to only show one of them. Anything to add?
I do understand that. It's just that in your old MPS, you did have them in those zones. That's all. So, I mean, I think it may be relative because we did talk about R2 a lot. And those are the low density to maybe do something in that area because there was a lot of confusion. We went down from 4 to 3. I don't think the R2, if you can maybe put some examples into that, those are our low residential areas. At least I get that we've made a lot of changes. So there are a lot of different iterations on that. That's my point.
So I'll ask the question. So if there's an ability to put one in for R2, great. If not, do we just put none in?
If there's an ability, try to put it in.
Put for R1 and 2, and if there's not, then maybe we just don't put any in, because then it doesn't look like R1 has a built form, and none of them do, because there's an opportunity to
So
do
don't put them
so
in any
many.
zones. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I
if you
think,
can't
I
do
think we can
all-
add it in for R2. I don't think that is going to be too
Yeah.
onerous. It's just,
Yeah,
like
we-
Jacob said, when there are many iterations, it can get confusing.
Yeah.
And especially when, like, within the previous bylaw, some were very detailed and very specific. I had people confused at public engagements about if this was what was only allowed, if this is giving architectural direction towards what's happening in the bylaw, when they're supposed to just be intent examples. So for R3 and above, I don't think it makes the most, it's going to be the most efficient way of, space in the bylaw, but we can add it for R2. That shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Let's try that.
And if it doesn't look like what you want to represent, then I'm fine with that, I guess. The R1 is really a basic change, but it is a substantial change for that, but.
I will say, I mean, we still have them all. They didn't go away. We can pop them back in from the older versions. It's not that much work. We just were worried about misrepresenting the possibilities that are possible in the zones, but I think you're right. R2's not that complicated, especially with 3 units.
Yeah, it is that balance of, oh, this is the only thing you can do, or this is what it is going to look like. And then if someone builds something different, then people go, what the heck?
It is a bit of a
It's a bit wrong.
catch-22
It is.
because there are many renderings and many different designs and your brain goes to, oh, I thought it was just that. When there's more possibilities, I do understand it, but from my point of view, I like to see possibilities rather than just the built form because the built forms doesn't look real to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I do want to reference something else that we said we'd do, and that was the idea that design guidelines area schedule is going to have a note that says all units over 8 are also subject to design review working group.
Yeah.
I know you have that. Here. All right.
So that's the list. Everybody's, I was gonna say it was a short list, but it's really not a short list. But
It's very doable.
Oh, wait.
yeah,
We feel
yeah.
very good about it.
I have one very last item to add.
Okay.
It was just clarify the built form requirements. There was a disagreement in the I2 zone for DA over 5 stories. I think it's 6 in one of the tables. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
will fix that in text. That's a disagreement.
Yep. Was that the last one? Going
I'm
once,
going to say yes.
going twice? All right. So CAO, what is our motion look like?
So I'll read the motion is slightly revised from what was in your package in order to incorporate the feedback that you gave today. So I'm going to read the motion in a second. What it's intended to do is to move this to first reading on March 16th. And it is also intended to direct staff to make the changes that have 2 groupings of changes. First, the changes in the direction that were requested of council by staff in the RFD. So the Westwood, things of that nature. That's the first grouping of changes that we're going to make or requesting direction on. The second grouping are all the ones that we just summarized. So that long list of summaries. So this motion covers off both. So your motion is that council directs staff to make final amendments to the draft planning documents as described in report RFD 013-2026, and as requested at Committee of the Whole of March 3rd, 2026, and have final drafts brought to the March 16th, 2026 council meeting for first reading, public advertising, and scheduling of a public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody good with that motion the way it is written? Yes, of course. So do you want to, Councilor Butler, can you read that over? Yeah.
You see it?
Sorry, I'm in your space.
What else is new?
I would move that Committee of the Whole forward the following motion to council, that
Yeah.
council directs staff to make amendments to the draft planning documents as described in report RFD 013-2026 and as requested at Committee of the Whole meeting of March 3rd, 2026, and have the final drafts brought to the March 16th, 2026 council meeting for first reading, public advertising, and scheduling to a public hearing.
Thank you, Councilor Butler. Do I have a seconder? Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, that motion is carried unanimously. I'm like, what have we got left?
So I'm gonna just take a moment to,
Good.
the mayor already acknowledged staff and consultants who have worked on this tirelessly over the last number of months. And again, I'll say echo that thanks. But I also want to acknowledge the feedback and the work today, even in just of itself, of council, of receiving a very large package and having an incredibly detailed, overarching discussion related to the current and future developments of this town. Kudos to you. That it was a very big lift today, went longer than we typically go. So thank you all very much for your attention and dedication to this. That was fantastic.
Yeah, you agree. It was a joint effort. What a team effort that was to pull it to here. So good work, everyone. Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, you may as well keep going. It's your report that's up next.
Give me a moment here.
As submitted. No. No.
Just a second. I just noticed that the CAO report, at least in my version in the agenda, was cut short. So I'm just going to pull it out of our system. Just one moment.
4 pages.
Okay. Here we go.
Laura cut you off.
Yes.
I've been having some challenges with my device today, so it might have just been cut off here. That's why. Just a couple of really quick things. So Wolfville will be celebrating its volunteers this year on Sunday, April 19th at the Wolfville Farmers Market. Looking at Wolfville Volunteer of the Year announcement at that event as well. So I believe the call for nominations has gone out on Volunteer of the Year. So if anybody has any, I'm sure everybody has multiple individuals in mind when it comes to volunteerism in this fantastic community. So guide as many or as many as you wish to consider nominations. Similarly, our call for strategic partners has recently gone out, and the deadline to respond to that expression of interest is March 20th. Coming up, March can be a busy week, or sorry, a busy month for it only feels like a week for a number of. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Folks. For a number of unsanctioned student events in our community. So there's community safety and compliance have been working closely with the RCMP as well as Acadia University to prepare for those unsanctioned events that we are anticipating to come later this month. Just a couple of quick items on general public works and parks operations, snow removal on crosswalks, accessible parking, bus stops, and whatnot continue through our fairly frequent snowstorms this year. Another little dusting is projected for tonight. So not only will our removal crews be out in action tonight and through tomorrow, but our compliance team will also be in action tonight, ensuring that streets are open and accessible so that our crews can move through the town unencumbered. And I think the last thing that I'll mention is potholes have been popping up far more than we would like to see. But these conditions, I think it's been reported in the CBC a number of times as well. It's not just our area, it's across the province. This winter has been uniquely challenging for the creation and proliferation of potholes. So our team has already been, when weather permits, filling as readily and as quickly as we can on those potholes, and that will continue through the remainder of the winter season. That's where I'll leave it, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, CAO. Does anyone on council have a question or comment for the CAO? Oh, Councillor Williams.
About volunteers, on the assumption that you might approve of any suggestions that we make, do you then interact with the volunteer to find out whether they want to accept being lauded?
I'm going to invite our manager of communications and strategic initiatives to field the question because I can't speak to it.
Through the chair to the counselor, thank you for that question. No doubt you're aware of the fact that many of our volunteers are incredibly humble. And we have had a situation where a nominee previously for Volunteer of the Year did ask to not be considered publicly in that way. We will work with those individuals on that. So yeah, absolutely. We will ensure that everybody is comfortable with that. The final award will be a surprise, but anybody who's shortlisted for that award, it will not be a surprise to them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barb. Any other questions of the CAO? Thank you for your report. We have two committee reports. One is audit, which was submitted by Councillor Palmer, who was unable to be here today. Is there any questions? I'm sure one of us can field the answers to that, perhaps. If there was any? Seeing none. And then there was the report from the Valley Regional Services Board. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none. The last thing on our agenda was there's no need for
The
in-camera?
in-camera piece was put there in case we needed it coming out of the MPS and LUB, so there is no item there.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll take that off. And seeing there's no further business on our agenda, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Uh,